What is up, everyone? Welcome to Mechs on Deck. Chewy's gonna take another whiff.
Oh,
Creams.
Still terrible. All right, we're good.
Oh
Gotta
man.
get high on the supply, man.
Well, all right. I don't know how to follow that, but hey, you know what? It's Wednesday. We're here with our good buddy, a local friend, Drifting Bunnies. How you doing tonight, man?
Good. Had an okay day at work, but
Yeah.
glad to be home.
Well, we're glad you're here. Chewy, how was your day? It sounded like you had
It was fun. Not fun. It was not boring. I had one kid today tell me, "Oh, I allowed him to do that." He was like, "Oh, I forgot something. I'm gonna go get it." And we're like, "Okay, go get it." And then his friend was gonna like follow him out the door. And we're like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, it's okay. I allowed it." I was like, "You're 10."
Your kids are taking your job.
Yeah, dude, pretty soon I'm just gonna sit back and watch the kids go and play. Man, he is. But yeah, no. How was your day?
Mine was crazy. Went and saw some clients. My boss and one of my other coworkers are at like a big event this week, so everything is crazier at work for me. It's like 3 times what I normally have to do each week. So
That's nice and fun. And of course, it fell on the week that you had to do a triple stream.
yeah. You know what? It's worth it though. It's fun. Last night was incredible. If you were here from the Tingu stream last night and you came back, definitely appreciate that. Yeah, Tingu's great. Not the biggest fan of the stems that are in here. They're very smooth, but they're very wobbly. It's kind of go together though, you know.
Hey,
I do really like the curves on the back.
Dude, the front curves of the Tingu are awesome. Like I was thinking about it today. I mean, if you look at the design, like we've seen so many different variations of like the Alice, like everyone calls it the Alice style layout. This is one of the few times that I feel like someone has really taken that design to another level. Like they've really kind of made it their own while obviously still keeping the layout. Like, and it's cool because we want to get to that point where like the Alice style layout is like a layout and not just these boards are not just like, oh, Alice copy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to get my hands on it for at least a few minutes, like as we're taking it to the post office. So, quick shout out to our sponsors, though. Project Keyboards. So, thank you, Project Keyboards, for providing us with the series. You can go to I believe we got a new link.
We did.
But you can click that link. That should still work to go get a Tengu right now. If you feel so inclined to try the Alice layout and want a gasket mount board or the Sirius, he's got some awesome stuff.
Mechs
159. Thank you for the subscription. Awesome.
It's
definitely
okay. I'm just gonna say that the reason I laughed there is because it reads the emote, so it's like Mechs on horn, Mechs on horn, Mechs on horn.
And Jay Chef, thank you for the sub. But yeah, definitely check out Project Keyboards. He's got some awesome stuff out now. Zap cables, you can go get the best cables that this community has to offer, in my opinion. And he's also got awesome desk mats. If you look at the stream VOD last night, that's a beautiful tropical desk mat as well as some cool tattoo themed desk mats.
Yep. And then next up you have switchmod.net. You can go to switchmod.net/mechs on deck, pick up some lube, pick up a T60. He's got a couple in stock, $155, gets you a pretty fancy little tray mount board. Not too much money. And then you can go to switchmod.net/Osiris to get $5 off GMK Metaverse. So
I hate you.
It's okay. But or you can go to switchmod.net/Chewy and get $5 off GMK Metaverse. If that doesn't work, when you check out, it'll ask, you can put a promo code in, type either Chewy or Osiris. You'll get that $5 back. So pretty cool deal. And then last but not least, last couple days of GMK Burgundy round 3 on mechsondeck.dixiemech.com. Definitely consider that. Classic set. It's run 3 times. I think anything that runs that many times can be considered classic. So check them out.
Yeah, and
Is it
then
more classic than classic blue and classic red that's coming
Yes.
out?
Got there. And then also, if you do get in on he's doing the Dixie Dozen. So if you get on the group buys, you can get selected for a 20% off coupon for all future GMK keycap runs for the year. So be sure to check that out. Join him on his yacht for the Dixie Dozen Yacht Club. So another classic set, GMK Forge, as well as the third classic set, GMK Sloth, as well as a classic keyboard, the Austin, the designer of all 3 of those Drifting Bunnies. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you did mention to us priorly that your Fast 4 are ready. So I'm excited.
Yeah, my Fast 4 are ready.
Oof. All right. Top 4 favorite switches.
So my favorite switch currently is the Red Inks. I know they're too light for Chewy, but that's what I like. I think they're pretty smooth. I haven't built like alpacas yet, even though people say alpacas are really smooth, but I just haven't been able to build mine yet. And then I have tangerines, just because they were my first maybe more expensive linear, even though they're basically yellows. They did feel different. And then, just yellows, just because they're like that budget, good linear. And then Hako Violets. So I think Hako Violets are pretty nice if you're not a huge tactile person, which I'm not, especially after trying the Zycos. I just, yeah, it was just a little too much for me.
Zycos are definitely intense.
Not for the weak-willed of tactility.
I think if I rebuild like the Holy Pandas with like lighter springs, I think I might be okay with the tactile switch.
Absolutely. Still a pretty intense tactility. But yeah. Zycos are their own kind of animal in terms of tactility.
Yeah. When I was building the Baka, I had like one spare left because I kept breaking the bottom.
Sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah, I really do. The next on the Fast 4 will be your top 4 favorite key sets.
Let's see. Oblivion with the Haraganos alphas. I think that's super clean. I really like the EPBT Japanese gray, which I don't have a set of, but just based on the pictures, I really like it. I have the black set, but I can't get the gray because there's just no compatibility with that one. I like white on black, but I'm gonna get the Hangul alphas for my Osa. And then I actually like SA Banana, which is probably the first one out of everyone.
Can't confirm because I'm currently looking up SA Banana.
That was like way out of left field there.
Okay, it's orange. All right.
It's like yellowish orange.
Yeah,
I think it's like a very interesting set.
I'm a little confused that some of the pictures show banana with like gray mods.
So they ran a banana add-on kit before running a banana full kit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a unique way of like starting, like if you run an ad, like if we saw GMK Mr. Sleeves like as an entire thing. Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's orange. I know you like orange.
It's like
GMK Banana win soon, Trinity.
Yeah, when are you gonna make GMK Banana? And that's gonna be the question now. You got to get the
I don't
rights.
know. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about doing a round 2 of Monkey maybe, but not calling it Monkey.
Okay.
Very nice. So, top 4 favorite keyboards.
See, I have the J80, which I really like the
Same.
vintage look. Um, I actually joined the TMO V2 group buy. So like with that one, I was really hesitant, but I do think it's like interesting and like big enough for me to use. Um, and then I have the TXCP version 1. I think that's probably the first like clean CP that I really liked. And then the Project F, the matrix board,
Mhm.
which is like a kind of like a CP as well. It's like a or like a Jetfire, but a little smaller.
And then the Austin, of course, I
Yeah.
imagine.
I thought you were gonna tell me that I couldn't
Oh
pick my
no,
own
you
board.
you
So
you can't. So I'm glad that you answered that for us.
We assume that you kind of know the rules somewhat. Um,
yeah.
so that'll get us to the last one. Your top 4 favorite foods.
Actually didn't write this one down, but I really enjoy like mostly Asian foods. So like Japanese food. I love like yukaku, like Japanese barbecue, or like um sushi or ramen, whatever. Um really like pizza. Pizza's great.
Can't go wrong.
I like Korean food, and because I'm Chinese, I have to say I like Chinese food.
Boom. Easy.
There you
Easy.
go.
Cartoon 91. What's up, my dog? And then Studio M96. Thank you for the follow. We are 6 followers away from the big 1K.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. We are what is like 3 subs on YouTube away from 500. We're 6 followers away from 1,000 on Twitch. We hit 500 Discord channel members today, and we're like, I don't know how far we are away on Instagram.
Instagram's the biggest gap, but it's also the fastest growing one. Yeah, we're at 460, so 40 away, but
Yeah, 40 away from 500 on Instagram. So we are very close. If you don't follow us on any of those platforms, we'd love for you to come by and press the follow, the subscribe button. Appreciate it. Help us hit our
if
goals.
if we get 1,000 followers, I will get my Austin out and lick it.
Okay.
Something to work for, and it's perfect because we've got the designer of the Austin, which leads us right into the Austin. So the Austin, if you have not seen, I will post. This is the interest check thread. Is a full set. Why don't you describe the Austin, what it is, why you did it?
Yeah. Okay. So the Austin, I did it because I'm an accountant. I need to use the numpad every day. It's just kind of so natural to use that like when I'm using a keyboard that doesn't have one, even entering like addresses, like the 5 to 6 digits you have to enter kind of annoys me. So um we really don't have any options for custom keyboards where we have a full numpad on a keyboard without it being full size. So, um, after getting a Melody 96, I was kind of looking for something different. And I was waiting for the TXCP version 2. Wasn't a huge fan of the design language for that one. So then started asking people, hey, like, would you be interested in some layout that has a full numpad? And slowly, like basically there was some interest, but not enough to get like a designer to take that layout and run with it. So I had to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there you made a solid board, and yeah, like honestly, even two U zeros are hard to come by in this hobby, just in general. And because the only one I could really think of top of my head is the TX 108, which is a full sized keyboard. It's a TKL plus a numpad, so there's no shrinkage or anything. It's also $100 just to ship the freaking board. So when you're starting, when shipping's more expensive than a tofu is, it's you start ask questioning yourself of whether or not you should get it. But no, yeah, I was that's kind of what, so like I was like, oh, I've been a huge fan of the TXCP, and then once I kind of realized, I was like, oh, it's actually like that's cool that you have full numpad. I was like, oh, sold. All right, sweet, let's do it.
And it's been a pretty long process uh for the Austin. What was that like? What was the prototyping phase like? I know you did quite a few prototypes.
Yeah. So I think I looked back. I think I started asking people about the layout back in April, the end of April. Um, we were able to kind of have the first draft of the design finished in like June, I believe. We were ordering stuff in July, basically. But the issue is we kind of got stuck with a PCB with a newish chip, like the chip that we used. Uh, Only UPOS used it from Canon Keys, and so we're just kind of like figuring out how to use it. We used the wrong pin for like the lights and all this stuff, so that delayed us quite a bit. And but I think for like prototypes wise, I I only tried like two different manufacturers, so it wasn't too bad, like prototyping. Um, and then yeah, we finally launched at the end of September.
It was a fun time. Uh, we were fortunate enough. You'll never be able to see it, but we were fortunate. It was actually probably the biggest reason that I was like, all right, got to upgrade my camera now. Um, we were able to build the prototype, the gray Austin prototype. That stream was just tough stream wise. Um, your boy messed up, had to restart the stream 3 times. Um, but overall, so I've talked about this a few times. It had unlubed T1s, which T1s are fine, I guess. It's one of those. It's all right, I guess. Um, but they're just not. They need lube. They need, and once again, once you lube switches, you kind of like ruin yourself for the rest of time because you're like, well, now it's not as good as that. So now I have to put the effort in. And it was kind of a rush job. And we're like, all right, well, we got to get it going. And then, and then that was kind of during the GMK crisis had started with the stabs, not GMK, but just the stabs being rough. And I was like, even with the issues, this board is awesome. It feels great. And outside of the fact that it took like 3 hours and I lubed before the stream, the stabs, such a great, such a great board and such a like hefty, like you. It's one of those boards that I've taken to heart from Man of Interest. The like when you feel something, like you just know it was worth it and it's premium, and that's just one of those things. So if you can, if you are, if you guys, is the raffle still open right now?
Yeah, so the raffle ends this weekend on the 1st. So I'll close it around noon and then probably pick it on Saturday or Sunday.
There you go. So yeah, you can still, if you want to put the link in there for the raffle, please do, because I'm excited. I'm building mine next Tuesday. And so with some holy pandas, some lubed holy pandas, and some different stabs, I'm very excited to get something that I just, it's one of those things where I'm like, I know this is going to be like one of my favorite boards. and I've been messaging I've been messaging DB like, all right, one more week, like 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks. Like,
Yeah.
can't wait, can't wait, can't wait.
I mean,
So
like
it's
the main objective for this board was to be something that you could take to work. Um, it's not like the flashiest design, right? It's very simple. I did want like something on the sides so I can put my fingers underneath because I knew it was gonna be a heavy board. Um, and so like I just wanted like a simple weight, something nice, something elegant, so that when my wife brings hers to work, they're not gonna ridicule her to death. But they still do. They still ask her like,
of course.
why? Like, why is it so heavy? Like, I don't get it.
It's funny that people are like, Why is it so heavy?" As if like the heaviness of it is a bad thing. And I'm like, wouldn't you like? It doesn't move,
Yeah.
like you can type on it aggressively. Like if you're angry, your keyboard doesn't fall off your desk,
Yeah.
But
Weight equals premium, man. That's you this just next time, just tell your wife next time someone says why is it so heavy, just look them dead in the face and be like, weight equals premium. Easy. No, it's a heavy. I mean, it's heavy. It's like what, 7 pounds or something. I'll weigh it fully built, but it's a
Yeah,
hefty
it's like
board.
7 pounds. I feel like it's pretty. I don't know. I've gotten used to it. I feel like other boards are just light.
Yeah, dude. I will say after the Fiel and the Baca and the Austin and I mean the TX60 even feels kind of light now, but when I was building the Tofu, it was like, whoop, sorry, like nothing against it. That doesn't mean anything wrong with it. It's kind of like the Sirius is an amazing board. It doesn't weigh that much because it's
No.
Palm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. I take my OSA to and from work every day right now. And um I come home and I type on my Sirius and I'll like pick it up and move it around. I'm like, God, this thing's so light compared to my OSA because it's like
Hmm.
it's like a 5 pound difference.
Yeah, dude, the OSA is insanely heavy.
Yeah.
I just realized we all have OSAs, so that's another fun,
We all have OSAs, we
another
all have
heavy board.
Bacas.
Bacas
I don't have an Austin. Sorry.
happens.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay to be wrong.
You know,
I'll let you borrow it for work for a week. It'll be
Mm.
loud because it'll be Holy Pandas, but people can get over it.
yeah, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. Yeah, I'm not myself. I do enjoy the way it looks. I do like the aesthetics of it. The layout for me personally is just it's too big. It's too much. Um, I prefer the smaller 60%, 65, 75. Um, I mean, I've always said that I want a TKL, but I never actually pulled the trigger on any TKL. I'm like, ooh, I like this. Ooh, I like this. And then I see something else. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have that though. So, um, but I definitely can appreciate the design and appreciate um, the effort that was into it. Because one of my favorite things that's on there is that logo right there.
The one in the front
Yes,
or the one in the back?
well, both honestly, but but the front just right above those arrow keys looks pretty freaking sexy.
Yeah. I mean that was kind of tough because so that spot there is like a little more than it's like a 1.25 and 1.25 square. And so like you can't put a switch up against the arrows. You can't put a switch up where the page down or the numpad is. So like we had to just like add something interesting there, or else it just draw your eyes to like a really ugly spot.
Dead spot.
Yeah. But the good thing is with a large board, you need, I mean, you don't need, but you have all of the lock keys. So might as well add the indicators there.
Yeah, it's the first board I think I'm gonna actually put LEDs in because I was like, why wouldn't I? Like, no, I genuinely see myself actually using the num lock
Right.
from time to time, and then it's gonna be so. I was talking to Drifting Bunnies, and I was like, "This is actually going to be probably my first board that I don't have a layer." because everything I could ever use is on that top layer. Um, so it's nice that I was like, I just have to put caps lock right back on the first layer, which will be strange to me, and I'll probably make a lot of. So if I scream at you on Discord, it's probably in the after Tuesday. It's because I switched to the Austin and I forgot something. I forgot that it was. I forgot that it was, caps lock was initiated, and I'll even have the LED telling me. Um, so prototyping, which a lot of people do, a lot of people don't. um I guess, what are your thoughts on the prototyping process? How important was the prototyping process, because you went through a couple different boards, and um yeah, just I guess go through that.
Um, I think it's really important. I think the reason why, so for me, right, like I haven't been in the community super long. Um, I started in about May of 2018. So I don't have a bunch of connections with manufacturers. I went to Google and I searched for a bunch of them. I contacted a bunch of them. I searched on Alibaba for a bunch of them. And the thing is, like, it's like when you're starting from scratch, you have to prototype. There's no way you can like order one blind and like start a group buy, like just without getting it in your hands. And so I narrowed it down to two manufacturers. One cost me almost twice as much as the one that I actually went with. But I was like, I need to be able to compare two different companies when I start. I don't want to just like, because you never know. Like, you could get the prototype from one company and it could be almost perfect, but then they like ghost you, when you start production. So I got two, and then I got some more prototypes made from like the one that I ultimately decided to go with. And even then, like they had messed up, um, or I had wanted to order a new top piece to see a different color, and they didn't like tap the holes correctly for the top piece. So like even like good manufacturers can mess up. So I think like it's good to prototype and be like, hey, you need to worry about this, or you need to make sure you don't do this, when you're doing the production units. And so I think because of that, we made some changes to like how deep our holes are for the screws, how long our screws should be, um, just like things like that, you know. So I think like the way Gawk is prototyping his 7V, like it's a long process, but I think that means that he will have a really good product.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when you had the two manufacturers, the one that was like insanely expensive, insanely more expensive than the other one, was there a huge difference in the quality, like on those first ones?
They were worse.
Really?
Yeah, so like they didn't know how to clear coat a brass weight. So I don't know if you've ever seen one of my prototypes has like a copperish pinkish weight. That's because they gold plated it. So that's gold plate without PVD. Um, which is interesting, like I think it might be an option for other boards, but um at that time that's not what I wanted to do. So, and then they sent me one that was PVD with no plating, and it was awful. And so like just like they could not do it correctly. Like there were scratches, there were streaks. Um, actually, I think once, if like Gondo shows his board, he's the one that actually got it. His board is that prototype
With all the
There you
streaks
go.
and stuff?
with all the streaks and the battle scars. But
There you
it
go.
it still comes together. It's just not as clean as any of the production units. And their excuse was like, "Oh, we thought it was a prototype, so we just use like scrap aluminum." Like, That's not how you earn a client, dude.
That's them backing up and being like, let's see how we can cover our tracks here with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's funny. Dixie, you're right. You really shouldn't join a group buy. Full disclosure, it's kind of interesting because we've discussed this a few times. Because the Baka, while technically yes a group buy, was kind of a proto run. And so thank you. Good. I hope you didn't
Sorry.
okay. So it is interesting because it can be done. I would have definitely done some sort of prototype, but prototypes are very expensive. So if someone prototypes a board multiple times, they're putting a lot of time and money into it. And that's something that, especially if they do 2 rounds of prototypes, like that can be, um, they're paying a considerable. It's a lot easier to tell someone to go make 50 of something because they're making a lot of money. But if it's like, hey, I need you to do one of these things, that's they're not making the equivalent of 25 boards worth of money. They're only making for one. So it's just one of those things that um when I see someone proto a board of multiple times, I'm like, okay, well, they're very serious about this. So not to say I was not serious about the Baka. I just wanted a Baka and couldn't afford 4 Bakas for one. So
One thing I will say though is like you can like prototype forever though,
yeah.
right? Like you have like 7V, I think interest check was in June. I think it's finally going to be group buy in March of this year. And then you have like the premise
Mhm.
from what's that guy's name? I think Lewis. Like that one, it's like a 75%
Yeah.
that's been
Axe
out.
out. Thank you,
Yeah.
Luis.
So like, and then by the time you're ready to start group buy, like everyone's moved on to something else, right? Like if you were prototyping like a tray mount for like a year, you probably might, everyone's looking for gaskets now. Like no one's gonna buy yours. So it's kind of tough to have that balance of like, when should I launch? How much should I keep working on it? I think it's kind of similar to like key sets too, like where you can keep working at colors, but like when is it like, oh yeah, this color works? Like I don't want to keep messing with it. You know?
Right.
Yeah. It's funny because prototyping reminds me of like early access video games where you're like, it's not perfect, but if you want to try it, like it's just the ultimate. Like you're like, hey, I'm gonna send this prototype to like someone to review it, and then yeah, open betas, or it's like things are gonna be changed, so you can't 100% judge it. But and that's like when we had talked about, because when I had built that Austin, you had told me like, hey, here's what we plan on changing and stuff. These are prototypes, and they have to be taken at face value. But and then what's the other thing that's funny, and I saw this, I think his name is Chris, the guy that did what was the music 60% board? Is that we went to
Staccato.
Staccato.
yeah, the
Yeah.
staccato. So a lot of people build boards for themselves. They build a board that's like, oh, this doesn't exist, and I want it to exist because I want that board. Um, and then they'll build a proto, and then they'll go, well, I've got my board. I don't need to put up with the group buy. And the proto might not be perfect, but if they like it enough, it's like, well, I don't want to run another run of protos and spend a bunch of money on something that's marginally better. So, and that to me, I was like, not that doesn't matter if you do that or not, but I was like, he's got these pretty solid protos, man. He could totally not do a group buy for this and be
Yeah.
fine.
I mean, I was really close. I was really close. I was like, if we could get these proto PCBs working and I'm using it, I mean, I was just like,
Who cares at that
I
point?
sunk a couple grand maybe. I don't remember how much. But I was like, yeah, maybe I'll just not do it, not do a group buy.
Maybe I'll just keep this one for me.
Yeah. But
Um,
I just, from the interest, I was like, let's just see what happens, and we are where we
And,
are.
and it was successful. I remember it you fit so you what 40 spots, correct?
Yeah, 40 spots in about 4 minutes. So like that day, I was like really worried. It was the day after the Austin meetup, and I was like, we were driving back, so it was like I opened it up at like 9 in the morning, and I was like, I hope I don't have to like watch the form and try to like manually close it if I don't, um, if the thing doesn't work for Google Forms, and sold out a lot faster than I thought.
yeah, I remember you were like thinking it was gonna be at least like the full weekend. Like you're like, oh, it might be up for like a week and 4 minutes. Like
Yeah.
Like,
definitely,
oh, it's already sold out, and I haven't even gotten in the car yet.
definitely a huge success. And um, I don't know if you said, but how for the people watching, how many extras are you raffling off this weekend?
There will be 11 extras.
There you go. And then it was offered in. I was fortunate enough and lucky enough to get a sneak peek at about 5 different Austin boards. I was hand delivering the Baca as he hand delivered the Austin back to me. But I got to see it, and the finish is fantastic. And it's one of the first. I'm not a big fan of blue boards. I had a mixed relationship with the blue Clippa many years ago, and so I think certain sets I don't like getting locked into a certain color. But that navy came out beautiful. Uh,
Yeah,
so it was navy, gray, and black,
and silver.
and
Yeah.
silver. I actually didn't know you ran silver.
Silver is like there was only 5 silvers, so I only have 1 extra. Um, and like there's only interestingly enough, there's only 1 silver in the US besides this extra. Like they all went somewhere else. They all went to
Hmm,
like the EU or like Singapore or something.
there you go. But yeah, be sure, guys, to get in on that raffle. I'm sure he will be posting in that Discord as well. He has his own Discord if you want to follow his raffle to get in on the next few days. Honestly, like I can't say enough. Like you guys, if you're looking for a CP style board, obviously in this community we are not all dead set on getting a full size board. But if this is something that you like, if a numpad is something that you like, you will regret missing. So hard regret. Anyway, GMK Forge. I wanna have you grill him about GMK Forge because I know how much you lunch.
GMK Forge has a somewhat hidden previous life. Um, yeah, GMK Forge. This is your first dive into running a key sets. Also a little bit about the history of it, how it started, and when it's going up and where.
So, I think I've I was just playing around with different colors first. I was kind of like looking at different pictures, trying to see what colors match or go well together. Um, you know, with keycaprenders.com, obviously you can just kind of throw in whatever colors you want. It's not the best, but it gives you an idea. Like if it's decent on that website, then it will probably look a lot better in real renders, right? Um,
Everything looks
so
super super metallic on
yeah,
keycaprenders.com.
yeah. So like for me, I wanted to get something a little different out there. We have plenty of white alpha sets, that winning Olivia formula. Um, so I think Forge is not the exact opposite, but it's more of like it kind of does something similar, but with a color that isn't really that popular at the moment. Which I mean, I understand like orange is kind of a in your face color, especially with like a more burnt-ish orange. Um, but like I know a
Burnt-ish
lot of people
orange, huh?
have
Burnt-ish. We were just skating that line on the.
I mean, however you want to look at it, I'm all for it. So
You're matching the box switches. That's clearly what it is.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's actually your favorite switch. You lied earlier. It's really the box burnt orange. Uh no,
Yeah.
forage is the thing about the burnt-ish orange is that if you're not familiar with it, it is somewhat of a subdued. It's not a very aggressive color when you mix it with other colors that are on the same um I almost said stale, but that's not the right word. Um but
I mean, it's definitely like a muted orange,
right.
right? It's not like it is in your face because it's orange, but it's not like
It's not.
citrus,
It's
right? There
not
wasn't like
vibrant.
yeah,
It's very low vibrancy.
It doesn't
yeah,
burn your eyes, you know.
right,
You're not like,
Ironically,
wow, like
yeah.
it's not borderline reflective like some oranges can be.
Right.
So it's definitely an interesting set. And like you said, it's definitely in a time where we have lots of sets that follow the same formula. It's definitely a little bit different, almost somewhat inverted, with the accents being that creamy, somewhat white color.
Yeah.
Definitely, it
it pops.
it pops. It hurts me to say that I like it because it follows the color scheme of the school down south. Um, but it
Yeah.
definitely, I definitely like it.
Yeah, it's got it remind this color wise. It doesn't remind me of this obviously because it's exact opposite. But it has that kind of Mizu esque where it's like it's some more muted colors. It's not super in your face. Blue is good for not being super vibrant. A lot of blues are very good at getting more washed out vibes. But this kind of reminds me of Mizu, because kind of like, okay, you've avoided the white alphas, so you're taking a risk, and but you still got those, the vibrancy and the brightness is from the accent keys, which is what they should be. They should be something that catches your eye, and something that kind of pops off the board. Um, and so that's kind of something that Mizu did. Colors, then boom, white, like right in the middle. So I think extremely well designed. GMK Goku is what I call it. um, but yeah, it's and we talked a lot about something that I really respect about you is I don't see a lot of people doing this, but you will grill everyone you know. Maybe not everyone you know, but a lot of different people getting as much input as possible. Where it's still yours, but like I've seen, I see where you take the input and apply, and that's a lot of people are afraid. Some people will get upset and they go, "Hey, well, I don't like part about it," and then they don't learn from constructive criticism, and I think that's something that you have that not everybody shares your ability to do that.
I mean, I think yeah, it's you know, it's a way for me to gauge whether or not it's good, right? I, I welcome people to tell me if something sucks, right? But I would appreciate it if they tell me how to make it better too.
Mhm.
Right? I think our community is great at criticizing and saying something sucks, but they're awful at being like, this would make it so much better. Right? I think for this orange, it took me a very long time to finally settle on this shade of orange, just because I think there are people that I talk to that are like, you should go brighter, you should go more contrasty, or um, some people are just like, orange is not my color. And so like I have to uh take that in and be like, well, what would work for people who are interested in it, and what would work for the boards that are out there, right? Like, I think this orange does really well with boring colored boards,
Mhm.
right? Like if you have a black board, you need kind of a colorful set to go with it, unless you just want a sleeper like white on black,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I think like muted on a black board, it
You
doesn't really do anything for me, right? Like
you boring.
like I'd rather you pick like a more colorful board maybe, or like just something a little bit like, oh, let's, you know, because muted is already so muted, you know.
Yeah. I would say
So
personally that
yeah.
I don't think muted actually looks that great on a black board. I think it looks better on gray.
Gray or any color. But yeah, I mean we've talked about the idea of um, sets that are extremely colorful. Take Hander by it. Um, like the sets stand for themselves. So a more boring board, that's what like the tofu has the perfect spot, and the clippa, and even to an extent the fiel, where it's you have these kind of plain boards, and they're like some boards and some color combinations are like perfect for showing off the keycaps. And this is one of those sets that you kind of want to show off the keycaps. Um, so I'm excited to see. I think this is going to be one of those sets that like a lot of people like when they go to a meetup because it is orange. It's bright. You're going to see it from across the room and go up and look at it. And I'm sure all the color matching is going to go great. Um, I think it's going to be a set that a lot of people. Fuck, I didn't get it. Like I didn't think I would like orange, but now I do. So me
Yeah.
I
and
also
Austin
tried to
Essie
make
in
it
the
a
same
more
orange.
neutral orange, if
A
that's
more
even
what?
possible. I tried to make it like a more neutral orange, if that's
Mhm.
possible, with making it a little more muted.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's like a more like it's like a darker pumpkin color, you know? It's definitely like it's not as aggressive as what you would get from like wasn't there like a interest check a couple months ago for like GMK like citrus or whatever
Yeah.
that was like, oh my gosh, this is like
Face.
bright orange, bright green, like holy crap. Um, this is
It's
just like
like finer things. That's another one. Not to hate on the set, but it's very like
it's
like
polarizing.
it's like Discord light mode. It just burns your face off.
I think it'll be interesting though for like finer things. I don't know how it'll actually look, you know, like in a normal setting,
Hmm.
just
Mhm.
because like renders are generally brighter than normal settings, I think,
Yeah,
or that's what
yeah,
people tend to like.
it's
Yeah.
lit up and perfectly lit from every
Right.
angle.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the thing, like what Chewy was saying about Forge. I think it'll be a set that a lot of people, because I think you've done a good job with the design of it, where people who like me, for instance, like I don't like orange. Specifically, I do not like burnt orange, and even more so, I don't like burnt orange and white together.
Hmm.
um, Boomer sooner. Um,
We've
but
got the clip. We've got
No,
the clip
I
that
do
we
have
can
that
pull it
clip.
up.
my bias is showing. Yes, it is. But no, I think for someone that has that level of bias, I look at something like Forge and um, I'm like, I'm tempted. You know, like look at him like I actually like the way this turned out. It looks good. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of people who kind of will sit on the fence. Hopefully, some do end up, you know, pushing the buttons, putting in that credit card info and getting it. But I think there will be quite a few people who will be like, man, that came out amazing. That looks awesome.
I hope so too.
So
I mean, like,
the,
so I have one sketch from an artisan maker who has like, you know, they make their little, not sure what they're called. I guess it's just a sketch, like a colorway sketch with Forge's colors, and it looks awesome.
hell yeah,
Yeah.
that'll
Like
be dope.
Yeah, I think I look at the other colorways that they've done for that particular sculpt, and it's nowhere near like as good. But uh,
In
I
your
guess I
unbiased
might be
opinion.
biased.
I mean, the big thing for me is the blue. The blue ties it in together. And I
Yeah.
think there would be a lot of people that designing it that would have been like, well, why didn't you put the orange as the legend color on the modifiers? And I was like, if you would have done that, I think it would have killed it for a lot of people.
Yeah, I definitely went through all the different combinations. The only other combination that would look decent is if it was just orange and white,
Yeah.
you know. But then that's like very hardcore um, Texas colors.
Yeah.
Boomer sooner.
And you're including an F-13. This guy.
Yeah,
It's like you own an Austin or something.
got to get on the wave early.
So next up, if you guys do not know, I will post the link for his other keycap set, which sadly is not running as soon or just GMK Sloth. So I've said from probably November on that this is my second most hype set of the year, um, behind Moto Light. I think that this set is done amazing. I think the novelties. I think there is only one set of novelties that I like more than the slot. Also, Zap, what's up, man? By the way, that sticker where we said "Here we go" for the 24-hour stream is the post-it note. It's still sitting here on my speaker. I look at every day for some little. Whenever I need to pick me up, I'm like, Zap, here we go, bud. So, but yeah, GMK Sloth. So tell us about designing that. You just came off of a set that is very not this. um, like if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm designing this. Guess the other set," I wouldn't have guessed Sloth. So
Um, yeah, so like I think so this kind of all happened like during the delay for the Austin, so I had a lot of time. Um, and after doing Forge and getting a vendor set up for Forge, I was like, okay, um, is there I wasn't really thinking of doing another set to be honest, but I was talking with like Minterly, I think, and we were just like throwing around like stupid ideas. And like I think animals came up and I was like, hey, what if we did like a sloth? And so, I just kind of looked at like a picture of a sloth and then I put in the colors. I was like, okay, that's not bad. It's like a it's like camping, like a sepia camping
Yeah.
in a way.
probably
Yeah,
why I love it so much.
yeah.
It really is. It's like
And I
camping
think
with a filter.
yeah. And I think one creative mind did an amazing job on
Yeah,
the
he did.
novelties. I knew I wanted like certain ones. I found some online that I wanted to be like it to be kind of characterized after, and yeah, he did a great job, especially on the desk mat.
So yeah, the desk mat. I'm. This is the one thing that I will brag about. Like, cool, I've done Mechs on deck. I'm like, no, dude, I helped on the Sloth desk mat. Like, did the Baka 60 have, 50% of Mechs on deck? No, dude. When I leave this hobby, my prized possession will be this Sloth desk mat. So I was very happy to, we talked about how you asked for a lot of help. I helped more, and I feel like I gave. I mean, granted, you're going to be able to give better input when you like something than when you don't. And I remember you went through quite a few renditions of this. What was funny is I'm pretty sure you were like, I think I'm about changing to this. I'm like, it's better. Like over and over. It's like, nah, dude, it's no, just keep going back to the old one. It's like you knocked it out of the park on the first try.
One thing that's interesting though is I don't know why people ask for RAL colors on Geekhack. Like I had like 3 people ask me, "Hey, can you post the colors? Hey, can you post the colors?" But one thing that was interesting is I had Metallic Charles help me with the renders, and I had picked, the colors. Then someone was like, "Hey, this kind of looks like Ursa in a way." And then I looked, and we actually had the same mod colors, and I put, the renders side by side, but they look different.
Hmm.
Um, so it was really weird. I think it's because different renderers render things differently. Um, but I mean, I changed it. I talked to Nathan, the runner of Ursa, and he was like, "Yeah, that's the color I use." And I was like, "Okay, I'll pick something else." And so there was
Respect.
a slight change, but it's still very close to what it started out as.
Yeah. I think it's funny to me when people ask for the RAL colors, because like it's nice because then you can like go look at a larger color swab of it, but it's like at the same time, how many people who are asking for it have like a RAL book at home that they can reference? Probably very few, because like the actual chips are very expensive.
And how many designers actually have a RAL book? I can bet you that some don't.
At least one doesn't.
Yes, at least one doesn't.
At least one.
At least one.
but but yeah, so it's funny that they're like, well, I want to look at the RAL colors, and it's like, okay, so you're gonna look at it the same monitor that you're looking at the the render of. Like, how are you gonna tell the difference? Um, I do really think that the Slovelties
Slovelties, I love it.
are going to be very popular. I think you might have a novelty kit that outsells a base kit, maybe. Who knows? I think these could pop
That's very
off.
possible.
That and that desk mat, dude.
That desk mat, yeah.
That
Everyone's
I'm
gonna buy a
telling you,
desk mat.
man. For those, can I give away my big contribution?
Sure.
Okay, my big contribution. I said it looks good, but you need to add more leaves to make it feel like there's a little bit more movement. And he sent me a picture, and I was like, "See, it's better." It's about other than that, and we talked about colors some, but that was like the desk mat. I was like, I helped on the desk mat.
It is really, really hard to make something look random though.
Yes.
Like I went back and forth with one creative mind and I was like, I need it to be a little more random.
I can imagine that he gets that message and he's like, "What the?
What the does that
What
mean?
the fuck?"
Random?
Yeah.
Oh
I was
man.
like, I need the leaves to look like they're in different, they're going in different directions.
I mean, it's hard to create. That's just an art thing. It's hard to
Yeah.
create motion, especially without lines. You've gone for that simplistic, like, oh, leaves flowing, and if they're all just like you're trying to avoid it looking like you just built it on MS Paint.
Right.
So
Yeah. You don't want to look like you literally just like stamped the leaves onto the desk mat.
but it just, I mean, it's one of the best. It's one of the best desk mats that has ever been made. IMO. Well, yet to be made, but it's just it's so like it's happy. Like you look, if you sit down, you can't have a bad day with desk mat. My biggest issue with it is I'm gonna like day one like drop like I'm gonna have to buy like 5 of them because I'm gonna be like eating spaghetti over it for whatever reason and just stain it.
Yeah, this is. I cannot wait for the pictures on Reddit of um people putting their board just like right next to the sloth, so it looks like the
My
sloth
buddy.
is holding the board up. It's you're gonna get so many
Slot.
sloth pictures, so
I'm
much
gonna make
Reddit
a
fodder.
shirt that is in your color scheme that says sloths are my co-pilots.
There are more sloth products out there. Like after making this set, I go to like every store and there's some type of sloth toy or like sloth candy or like random
Sloth
sloth
candy.
cups. It's crazy.
That's, I mean, it's like unicorns. I'm still waiting for GMK unicorn.
I
Like,
mean, you have like rainbow, right?
yeah, but like we need like some more pastel. A lot of unicorns are like pastel pink and I know this because my wife has and this hilarious and awesome obsession with unicorns, and she loves like the kind of pastel rainbow. And any photos of the desk mat. If you go to, I think this is the same link. Um, yeah, if you go scroll down, it's right after the keycap renders. Um, so we need something like that. But that's a lot because you'd have to get like 9 different keys and all custom colors.
And you like, what would you color match with? Like, you could do like GMK like Smarties.
There you go.
Send them
Yeah.
Smarties
Yeah.
to color match
Here
with.
you go. Here you go. Match with these. No, I really, really like Sloth as well. As John at Zap was saying, the subtler vibes are very attractive. It definitely looks so good.
Set, dude. That's number 2 set of this year. Can't wait. Like the only literally if Moto Light did not seafoam accents, it would be. It's just
You
the
cut out a
seafoam.
whole bunch right there. What was
That's
that?
weird. Delphin, thank you for the 100 bits. I said if Moto Light did not seafoam green accents, this would be my.
Yeah,
That's
you are
literally
all
it.
about the seafoam.
Dude, I had this beautiful seafoam green. It was cool, closer to turquoise. It was like a dark. Delphin, thank you again for the 100 bits. Jeez, dude, solder bros. Bros don't know. Delphin always shows up. He's like, "Did I miss soldering?" No, dude, I got you. Thank you.
So that's why he got so stoked last night when he's like, soldering.
Hey, and guess what? We're talking about it. It's brilliant,
Yeah,
guys.
hey,
Like solder bro. We'll have to bring him on for some solder time.
some solder talk.
Some
Yeah,
solder talks. But speaking of talking, we like talking about some toxic stuff. And there have been you have designed 2 key sets now and a board, which I am sure in no way, shape, or form has prevented you from getting some heat, some criticism, especially non-constructive criticism. So I guess talk about like we talk a lot with designers, but you're gonna get some hate. When you put in a color, especially an orange, that people might not like. So how does dealing with that, as a designer, kind of pushing through that mindset of like, don't listen to them. It's harder than it looks.
Yeah. Um, well, like for the Austin, it's not too hard, I guess, when you're dealing with keyboards that you only have to sell like 40 or 50 of, because unless your board like does not work and is not made by a Chinese manufacturer, someone will buy it, right? Like we have very interesting boards. I'm not going to name which board I'm thinking of,
The
but
Baka 60.
but there are people who still bought it. Like I like the layout's not for me. The way they designed the case is not for me. Um, and really, I think that person needed a lot more help from like seasoned designers to refine his board. But he sold it and people bought it. So I think like we did have an issue with um, people wanting ISO with the Austin. So uh, we finally decided, okay, we'll include ISO in the PCB. And if we have close to 10 people buy ISO, like we'll get plates made, because once you hit around 10, like the plates are fine. But there were 2 that wanted it. And so I couldn't justify buying 10 plates for 2 people. So that was just one of those things that like people like to get all up in arms about, and you know, just doesn't matter. Like, they can yell at me all they want. They didn't buy the board. I don't care, right? Like,
Yep.
I can't. I tried, but there's only so much you can do.
Mhm.
I think with key sets are a little harder, right? Because you have to appeal to the masses, right? Like you want people to buy it, and we're talking about like 250 people for a custom color. That's not the easiest thing. I think now, as the community is growing, now as we can support probably, I would say easily we can support 4 good sets a month. Um, then you know but we have 10 sets a month, so like
Yeah.
then it's difficult, right? You're trying to get people who have something against burnt orange buy the set, and it so I try to do what I can, right?
Mhm.
Every a lot of people are just like, orange is not my color. Orange, that's okay, just look at it. It kind of grows on you, to be honest. Like, orange is not my favorite color. But when I looked at the color combination, I was like, hey, this is something that is unique. Um, and if I can make 250 of them, like if I can make MLQ and have it be made, I'm sure like some people eventually will like it. More and more people join the community. So I think, you know, um, eventually it'll go into the hands of people who actually like the set. So
GMK
that's kind of,
Forge thinking 2021. I like it.
yeah, forging ahead.
Ooh, there it is.
Isn't
Somebody
that
put
isn't
it
that
on a
one of the
shirt.
caps? Isn't that one of the artisans?
Well, it was, but I think it's not worth like I couldn't really find a good font, to be honest,
Uh,
that would go well with like the rest of GMK font. So I
Yeah.
just kind of scrapped that. Um but yeah, I mean, like, I think sets like Sloth is less offensive. So I think more people like it. Um
I
but
mean, it
even
does
then,
fall under that safe category of like you've got your alphas that are close to white. It's
right.
not exactly white, but close to white and a darker mod. It's like it's a safe set. Like that's not bad. You've managed to take a safe set and turn it into something that I think is very unique that I think we have not seen very much of. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're also people be hell yes, and then slot. Who gets mad at slots?
you can't.
Like I'm sure there's that one guy out there. Fuck sloths.
Yeah. I don't know what reason he would have to be mad with sloths. So, but maybe there are some people. Maybe there are some people who do not like sloths.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, people are pretty receptive to Sloth. But each of my threads have had some type of salt in it, or melons, popcorn, whatever, you know. So it I just kind of address it, and then hopefully it generally goes away.
Yeah, I'll say you're no, I mean you're no stranger to hopping in the mix. That's why I've sent you at least 10 times. I'm like, dude, you're my hero because I get like anxious and if like things are awkward, like if toxic stuff's happening, I'm like, oh, I want to stay away from it, and like I'll just see Drifting Bunnies hop in the mix. Yeah, dude, I can live through you. Like you're saying what I want to say.
I think like it's interesting. So even though people like to say bad things about sets or boards or whatever, there are like a lot of fanboys for designers, vendors, people who are well known in the community. And then we start like overlooking these things that they do. Um, and not everyone's willing to speak up because they are more well known in the community. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's tough because we can always vote with our wallets. We
Mhm.
can always, um, try to avoid them, or, just don't engage. But sometimes it's good to bring things to light in a non-toxic way, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think, for instance, like the Phoenix situation, I think there are a lot of things, a lot of missteps, but like you don't have to be toxic about it. I think
Mhm.
she admit that what she did was dumb, right? Um, every time she miss took a misstep, I was like, "Hey, you shouldn't do that. Like, take it back or turn it off, or like that's not a good thing to do."
Mhm.
But that's in private, right? I'm not jumping on the thread and just being like, "Hey, look at this trash, look at this whatever." Like, um, I think we hopefully as a community we can avoid that.
I think there's also like there's a little bit of a gang mentality too. Like
Mhm.
you see someone getting upset about it that maybe it's someone that comments on a lot of things, or someone that is very active in the community, and then all of a sudden there's tons of people going after that, um, for the same reason, and they just take it so far. It's like, come on. Like on this show, we've been harsh about designs, we've been harsh about the way things have been handled, but people, I feel like, miss the point that it's you don't have to go after them personally, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like even in a situation like the Lumina, right? Like there's a good chance that that'll never happen, right? There's a higher chance that that board will never ship than it will at this point. I am not like I don't think that Tess is like the worst person in the world. Like I get it. I get how you fall into the mistakes that he's made that have put him in this place. And I understand, right? Like I've said it before, like I accept some responsibility for me putting my money into that, you know? And I think a lot of people don't take that approach. They think, well, um I should be able to just put my money in something. I should trust it fully. Like if you're willing to take my money, you should be able to handle it. It's like what we were talking about earlier, today when you're talking about the issues that people are having with like PayPal and Shopify, right? With um, the refund process. It's like, well, I get it. If you get in on a group buy and then you cancel, like if someone has to charge a restocking fee because they will be losing money, like that that's
You
how it
could bank.
is.
You could in theory
Yeah, like
through that process.
it's
If
one of those things. It's like I said in our chat, like we can't expect everything to be like Amazon, where you can just do basically whatever you want from a purchase and return standpoint and expect it to just be okay. Like this is still, while getting bigger, it's still a small community, right?
Mhm.
And vendors and designers and runners, they try really hard to accommodate everyone, but sometimes things just have to be different because this community is a different purchase experience.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the personal thing, like there's no point in taking personal shots and stuff like that. I can understand you can be mad, but one, you should watch what you say on the because that crap will come back and bite you in the ass later at some point. But that's just an internet thing. Don't be crazy. But if you don't like something, or if someone did something dumb and messed up, for instance, we saw the Amir incident recently. Amir stated about the color situation. He had some problems where he didn't color match something properly before the group buy started, and so now he's like, "Well, it's going to be impossible for me to get the exact same color, but I'm going to do everything I can to close." He got some meat for it. It's a mistake. He apologized. You can be mad, but I think some people were taking it very, very far. Like, I mean, he made a mistake, but if you can't accept his apology, then you just go shout at the wall, I guess. That's kind of my mentality. Don't you don't need if someone's apologized, what else are you looking for? especially if you have lost no monetary. Yeah, if you've lost no money on it, what else are you looking for other than just angry back to the mob mentality? So
I mean, like, there's not a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a lot of individual group buy runners anymore. Like, a lot of boards are going through vendors. Key sets are for sure going through vendors. Like, it's so the reason why I wanted to keep going was because I wanted to kind of see the whole process through, right? Like, I actually was talking with a vendor, and they're like, "Hey, if you actually wanted to run the Austin through me, like, just let me know." But then when I told him, like, "Hey, this is all of the things I've done for it, like, I've done a lot of planning, I've ordered all the accessories, like, it'd be silly for me to ship all of my extra things to you so you can pack it." Right? And he's like, "Yeah, you might as well just do it, just finish it." But even with all of that stuff, there are a lot of things that I couldn't plan for, right?
Mhm.
And like to for me, I'm super conservative because I'm an accountant. Um, uh, I have a spreadsheet. I calculated many different scenarios to make sure this was worth it. To make sure that even like I had to reorder 100 PCBs out of my own pocket, but because I built in the margins, like no worries, right? Like if I was running it really slim, like I would probably just like file away all the PCBs so that they would fit for people. But because I wanted people to have a good product, I just reordered them. Not everyone's going to do that. So I think it's like if everyone was like on this show that was in this hobby and like you could see their face, you can talk to them, like I think people would calm down and like speak like human beings, you know, because
Mhm.
the fact that they can just hide behind a computer and just like talk about these things, and you know, they don't design anything, so there's nothing to talk, you know, about for their, you know, for them.
Can't
It
fire
makes it
back.
easy. Makes it easy.
Yeah, well, I mean that goes back to what you said initially of like they say they don't like something, but then don't give a reason, like a true reason, or um, you know, don't state like, oh, what could make it better, you know, like they don't say anything remotely productive towards it because they don't a lot of people don't understand what they actually want until they see it because they don't know about they may not know about design. They may not know what actually would work together. What makes it to where when people look at it and they're like, "Ooh, I really want that." Like, not that those people don't have any business saying anything. I'm not trying to say that, but like, it's one of those things. Is just like, just be nicer. Like, if you don't like something and your only criticism towards it is you don't like it, right? Is there any value to even like putting that out there, right? Like, what's what's the value there, right? Like if you say I don't like GMK Forge because I'm not big into orange, but I appreciate the way that it works cohesively, and I understand how this works, and I get it, right? Like that's a lot better than just saying don't like it, colors suck, you know.
Or
Get
just to
out.
say that it looks like another set, you know, like I think
Yeah,
that's
that's because we've seen that with our homeboy Myknos, who people just would not stop comparing Fuyu to Bento. And it's like just stop. If you're not adding anything, you're just trolling. You're being a dick. Like, let's be real. Like, if you come up and you go, "Hey, you've designed the set. I think this kind of looks like this set. What are your thoughts on that? Have you like thought about that?" That's a completely rational way to go up to someone. But if like I've seen people, especially with that set, just literally type the words GMK Bento, hit enter. I'm like, do something better with your time.
Is mad cause mad.
Mad cause bad, really. So, but yeah, it's just at least Forge, you can't really. I can't think of anything Forge can be compared to. So at least, I mean, other than Olivia, but that's just one.
I mean, when I first released Forge, it was called Burnt Orange. Um, there was someone who said, "Isn't this just like Orange Blank?" Like they were comparing it to their set that they made, but they're like, "Oh, isn't it just Orange like my set?" Like I'm like, I'm not gonna mention which one it is unless you want me to, but um, I think people just like to. I can understand like people like to compare so that they can get like an idea of like, oh yeah, this looks like this because this is what I know, right? Like, um, if you drive, no, if you've never tasted something and then you're like, what do frog legs taste like? And you can say it tastes like chicken. Then people are like, oh, I know what chicken tastes like, so I can kind of guess what this tastes like. Um, that makes sense. But like to just say, oh, it's just this, really devalues like the time that someone spent to put the idea together, to get the renders done, to get the kits done. Like it doesn't just happen, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
GMK Demon Sword and the alphas.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, there's that's a whole situation on itself. With that one
Color.
color thing, like, because if you think about it, right, like realistically, if you were in the clothing industry, just like in keyboards, there's really not that many manufacturers that manufacture like everything, right? Like shoes, like it's come out before that like multiple different shoe brands are manufactured by the same people in the same factory. You go one day and it's Adidas, you go the next day and it's Nike, right? GMK is just that factory, right? Like we could literally just put like Nike and Adidas have the same colorways. They just call them different things. And it's the
One's got
other
a
work.
swoosh, one's got a
It's
stripe.
it's the branding. It's the things like the branding for it, the subtle nuances of the design, the that maybe just that slight maybe a slight hue change that really just completely changes that design. I think people focus too much on like, oh, well, this is close to this. I'm mad. It's like, what? Like, why? Why?
Hmm.
Like, if it, if it, if that slight hue change takes someone who was like, you know what, I really liked this set, but I didn't like it enough to buy it. That slight hue change changed that no to yes for me. Then that's doing the job. Like that's doing the job of having the variety that we are able to have. Right? Like, come
Mhm.
on.
Well, and it's like, I know mentally with SA Bliss got a lot of heat for Olivia or for the comparison to Olivia. And, you know, Ol- Olivia is the queen of rose gold, but she does not have, if someone releases something in rose, she doesn't have the ability to be like, you can't do that with. And so, end of the day, it's like, listen, she can make it and you can be all about it, but she said it perfectly when she that it's great because now I've got more things to buy that are rose gold. It's you're adding more options in there. So in you know, I can see how it might be awkward if I came out tomorrow and was like, I'm releasing GMK Go. It's slightly brighter orange and slightly brighter blue. And it's going to run the exact same month as Forge. Yeah, at that point you have an opportunity to be like, "Yo, what the fuck?" But if they're not conflicting in any reason, and they're different, it's a different profile to begin with, then it's like, how much ground do you really have to stand on? Because all you're doing is defending someone who doesn't really care. So,
So yeah, like one thing, like GMK Sloth, right? Like it's subdued, and like I said, it actually had the same mods as GMK Ursa. Um, but So I've seen GMK Ursa before it became Ursa. It was like GMK Breathe or something like that. But when I first looked at it, I was like, I don't like those colors at all. Um, and so like me just changing it a little bit makes Sloth, s- I would say, feel very different than Ursa. Um, like
I
everyone
don't make
was,
that. I don't make that even.
yeah. So like I think you can compare it like that, but in reality, it's like such a different set, such a different feel. Like I think like Moto Light Muted, um, that's a tough one, right? I think it's very, very close. Obviously, like you said, though, no one really owns that color, but I think it's how they present it. Um, I think calling it Moto was might have been the issue, right?
But it's not
Uh,
even the issue with the set that it was close and
right,
similar
right,
to.
yeah. So I don't know if they called it light muted. I don't know if we'd be okay with it either.
Yeah, we'd be just as. It's kind of like you bring up a good point. Pick your poison at that point. Like, what are you going to be mad? Are you going to be like this or sounds like this or whatever? It's like, you know, it's someone. People are going to be mad if you have any passing resemblance to any other sets.
And I get what Dixie's saying there. He talks about how shoes can all be different, all be very different, and that might not be the best comparison. But I mean, if you look at clothing in general, like
Shirt's a shirt.
a shirt's a shirt. Just
I mean, they do
because,
the same thing with like food. Like, you can get great value butter or you can get name brand butter, and the only difference is the plastic wrap around the outside. So
I think I'm not saying that doing something that's the same color as something else is okay. I think there's more to it, and if there is more to the story, if there's more to the design than just the color,
mhm.
then I think you can maybe accept it a little bit, right?
Well,
Like if you have if you are if you really want to design something, like I've been wanting to design a set for a while, right? And it's actually fairly close to the same colors as Rudy. It would have a different accent color completely, but it actually is a similar colorway. The actual alpha colors would be darker, but it's a very like blue gray modifiers, a little bit slightly darker, creamier, almost manila folder like alphas, and like a brownish accent, right? Like are are people gonna get upset because it's close to Rudy, even though it's based off of something that is like extremely close to me, like an extremely close to my heart? It's based off of that. Like, at what point do we say that the inspiration for it is like, can we accept that as the reasoning for the colors being what they are if it's not
yeah, it's
exact?
yeah, it's like if I really wanted to make something like GMK Goku, that's Goku right there, literally in the background of my shot. Like, I love Dragon Ball Z, and his colors are orange and blue. And if I made something that was kind of similar, but then like all the all the novelties are different, and there's a overall theme that's slightly different, we might have to have a long conversation about how different to make it and how similar to make it. But it is two very, very different themes going into it. And so, yeah, a lot of that also has to do with just be respectful. If you are a designer, approach it like an adult. Don't
Yeah.
approach it like, oh, you copied my homework. Like, no, it's like, just talk, because most people are just going to have a nice like, or just if you approach them with just, hey, let's talk about this. Most people will be genuine, and you're not trying to steal something. So
Yeah, and I think designers also should maybe be a little bit more realistic with each other, and if you know, like, before you post it, if you know it looks like something else, maybe reach out to the designer of that other set and say, "Hey, I'm I want to do this. I know it's similar to this, but here's why it's different. And
yeah,
here's how I came to this." Like, explain your reasons to that designer, so then that way you don't have the other designer like getting all upset in your geek hack interest check as well, because then that's just like
you're getting blind. I mean, you're getting blindsided. Um, you know, because not only that, most likely you're going to get that person's going to get 20 messages going, "Hey, have you seen this guy copying you?" Like, you know, what's the set that just came out? The white one. Crap, what's the name of that set? There's a new set that's just black on white that it's
Bleached.
bleached. Yes.
wait, I haven't even seen this.
DMK bleached. It's minimal with a different shade of white. But you can't copy black on white. Like you can't copyright that. It's just black on white. No one has the stake of like, I own this. You know, maybe a heads up, but you don't really have a lot of ground to stand on when it comes to. And the whites are, you know, in Metallic Trials, you're absolutely, whites are very different. They've done a good job showing the differences in the white color because, and I've had this conversation with Drifting Bunnies about your J80 when I was like, oh, I found the first board that minimal doesn't look good on because you have the J80 is kind of this off-white cream and it clashes with just a standard white. So,
And perfect example of reaching out to the other guy that people are going to be like, why minimal round 2? You reached out to Yang Lad, said Yang Lad's like, nah, go for it. WS2 is pretty different from WS1. So to give people more options, because at the end of the day, we need more options.
get more sets out there.
I would be interested to see if Bleach ran at the same time as Minimal Round 2.
That would be
Right?
awesome.
So one thing is interesting is like, you know, do sets do well because of who runs them? Like, for instance, if I came out with Moto Light, how different would that be? Or if, yeah, like,
It does bring an interesting point because like it's hard. I was seeing that like, well, the first comparison because boards is completely different. Boards, if someone's like, I released this board and I did a group buy for it, like if was the group buy good or bad? Typically, keycap sets are they either take long or they don't. Like that, we've only had really 2 keycap keycap runs that were iffy, and by iffy I mean very troublesome, run by the same person. Um, and that's kind of the only person that's probably just, you know, sadly burnt their ticket out of the community. But with boards, you know, you either gain the trust or you trust on run. But then now it's like with keycaps, it's like, well, you know, you can kind of use that. Hey, I'm the designer. I did like the guy that did Dracula. The next set he can do, he has the ability. But I did Dracula. And Dracula was amazing, and mob mentality. You know, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, well, it's Dracula, so it must be good." It's an interesting thing to think about.
It is, but it's also like I'm not I'm not I'm gonna clarify this by saying that I'm not talking about anyone specific or anything specific. Just bringing up a thought. So I don't want anyone to like try to go on like a fucking witch hunt. Um, but are people, are designers, maybe even some vendors? Well, I don't think you can't really lump vendors in this, but are some designers where they are not because their designs are of high quality, but because of the length of the time that they've been in the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are there people who are newer in the community that could make significantly better sets that will do better than people who are continually getting opportunities to run sets um, that maybe are a little bit subpar? Again, not about anyone specific, just a thought of like, at what point do we 10 strong? I'm not actually talking about anything. I'm not talking about Zambuman, not talking about Oblatsky. I'm not talking about any of the designers that have been here a long time. I'm talking just in a generality.
Well, and that's just in general across the board. I mean, if you think about like it is harder to get your name more popular. If you want to
Right.
be a big YouTuber, if you want to be a big streamer, if you want to be a big business, you have to fight against the people that have been there longer and who have proven themselves. You know, they're already there. So you have to convince someone, especially if like your set's running against one of the more seasoned designers, you're having to prove you have so much more to prove. And a lot of people will go, well, what's XY, what is this person running soon, because I like their stuff. And it's like, okay, well, you can absolutely go and follow them, but you know, so it's a lot harder because they might not have a website, they might not have the huge Instagram following that everybody has. You're just doing your best to put your interest check out there. Excuse me. And so yeah, it's definitely more difficult for you to get noticed. And we do see stuff like Dracula came out, and
I was gonna
that
say
guy
Dracula is, I think, is
Dracula
a
is like the
example.
outlier here, the perfect example, because it's like he was going against camping, which was that's huge design. Misty King. He's been King Misty. He's been around for a very long time. He was going against what else was October? Was that Cafe?
Mm-hmm.
Cafe Langlandia is still new, but Cafe, another great set. Another set that did really, really well. So you're going against a lot of, if you're going against a seasoned veteran, it might be difficult, but it's also possible. It's also very possible, you know, when we see sets that do exceptionally well. Um, but at the end of the day, they're all guard that's like, well, who are the best designs? What's these four people? It's like, what are their best designs? And then you list them off, and you're like, okay, those are good designs, but none of those are my favorite. And then you start realizing how many people have sets, and how the overall quality of sets, in my opinion, while we have a wider scale of like, yes, this is good, yes, this is bad, there's a lot more good, I think, that's kind of up towards the top.
And I was not talking about Rensuya either. I think he follows into the example of someone new can come into the community and make a splash. He was literally, his first set design was Mizu
Mizu?
last year.
Yeah.
Like, not a, like, I wouldn't consider him a seasoned veteran. I mean, he's had one set deliver. I agree 100%, Dixie. What do you think
I
about
mean,
that?
I think like, for instance, to me, I think the Austin did pretty good, right?
Yeah, it sold out in 4 minutes. I'd say that's pretty freaking good.
Right, but I think like when I brought the Austin to people, like to vendors to try to get them to run it, I think they were very hesitant. Um, uh, because I'm not really anybody. Uh, at that time, I didn't design anything. So I think it does matter a lot. I think like vendors matter a lot when it comes to key sets. I think some vendors pick great key sets. Sometimes they don't. But I think because of their reputation, they might do better than if it went with another vendor, or if you know, um, I, I think there's a lot of pieces. It's kind of hard to pinpoint. Like, oh, is it because the colorway sucks? Is it because the designer wasn't popular enough, or if the vendor wasn't popular enough, or they didn't market enough, or like there's like so many different things that um, I kind of think about it because like there are some things I would love to run because there's so much demand for it, but because I'm not really one of those veteran designers, like I don't think I could run it, right? I'm not a vendor. I don't think I would be able to, run something that's more recognizable, I guess. Like I there's no like I would get destroyed. I know Younglad got destroyed a little bit with the Moto Light. I I can't imagine if I tried to do something like that, like what would happen.
Oh yeah, it'd be way worse. Who's this?
Oh, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, like, it would be, what's this guy think? Who does this guy
Yeah.
think he?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Mom, too soon. Too soon.
mm,
I love
I
how
love
I
it.
tried to like put that I'm not talking about anyone specific, and everyone's trying to guess who I'm talking about when I'm like literally just bringing up a point to bring up a point that has no weight in like actual like designers.
We're
Um,
talking about Drifting Bunnies'
yeah, I think
innate ability to copy everybody's sets.
I think one of the biggest things, and we've talked about this, Drifting Bunnies. We've talked about how I think there is a huge problem in this community, which is kind of hilarious that this is a problem with patience, especially when it comes to designs. I think people don't take enough time to really let things mature and figure it all out. I think a lot of times, especially with keycap sets recently, we've seen people put out like an interest check that's just literally like, here's this. Does this do you is cool? Question mark. And it's like what Dixie said. If you work at it, if you spend 6-7 months perfecting your set, perfecting what you have, it's going to get picked up by a vendor like immediately if it works. Like if you have a good colorway, if you have a good theme, if you have a good if you present a super polished product on an interest check, it's going to come across so much better than if you're just like, yep, here's some renders. Yeah, here's some. Maybe here's not even some renders. Maybe here's like a couple things and some keycaprenders.com. Is this okay? Like, put some effort towards it. Like, I get it. People don't want to put effort first because they don't know, okay, well, I don't want to commit that much time to it. What if it's not taken well and it doesn't happen? If it's not taken well, then at least you tried. And then, you know what? Maybe you can resurrect it next year. Maybe it'll come back around.
Please come back to me, Sparta. So, do you guys have any questions, by the way? Add us in the chat. And if you have any questions for us, if you have any questions for Mr. Drifting Bunnies about the Austin Forge or Sloth or anything else, please be sure to tag. So, yeah, and I think another thing too about kind of your comment on there of people are rushing through is people started going, "Oh, I can make money off these designers making a living off of doing keycaps. Like, I want some of that." And then they don't try as hard because they're not focused on bringing a good product. I mean, you can look at any hobby and find the people that just want to make the money and that just throw stuff out there to try and call a dibs and make some money or be able to start something or be able to. I remember we talked about this before, but whenever keycap renders came out, man, the dibs mentality was hard and fast, and people were throwing stuff up there as fast as, I mean, people. What's funny is we saw. Remember what said it was. Even during the keycap renders, we saw people. It was happening so fast that people were putting KLE layouts and colors just to try and grab a dibs on that colorway before, and then throwing it up like, here's my interest check, it's this, fill out this form, do you like it, yes or no, and like that was it. And I was like, you come on, like, show some hustle, like you said. Show some effort, show some hustle.
Because I mean, it does have the opportunity. Like, if you want to make something out of it, like if you want to get paid, right? Like that's not a bad thing to also want to make some money off of something that you want to create. Like I played music for a long time. Did I want to play music because I loved it? Yes. Did I also want to make money? Yes. Like it's not a bad thing to also want to make money.
You get paid for your time,
Right.
but they're not putting time in.
They're not putting time in. They're not putting effort. They want it's like it's just like anything. when you're at your work, when you're at your job, you're not going to get promoted by just
Doing the bare
continually
minimum.
asking, well, is there a promotion available? Is there a promotion available? If you show that you are working hard and that you're really committed to something, then it may come, without you having to say anything. Life
And I
tips
mean,
with Osiris.
yeah, exactly.
Ba, 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 ba.
You're someone who put amazing interest checks up. If you want to see a good interest check, go to the GMK Sloth and go to the GMK Forge interest check. They're laid out well. They have good renders, lots of pictures, different layouts. Like, and another one that I know Dixie swear to the ground's the best interest check ever is the Dracula. It's kind of like interest checks are kind of at this point, obviously they're we call them hype checks, but I also like to think of them as like the science fair. Like you have the fold in boards and you're like, this is my interest check. And if you see a really fancy one with flats and all that, and someone who clearly put a lot of effort into it, yeah, people are going to go to that one. That's kind of how I view Geek Hack, the interest check Geek Hack area. Of like, oh, this one's very professional. This kid clearly did this the night before. So, how important do you think your interest check process was to you getting Forge picked up?
So Forge was like kind of a work in progress. So like when it came out as Burnt Orange, I really wanted to keep it like a simple set, but with feedback, people were like, "Hey, if there's a theme, I feel like you could connect with it better." And so that's kind of where Forge came from. I was talking with Jeff Leopard, who told me, "Hey, it just reminds me of Forge," which he obviously never saw GMK Forge before in 2018, which is a black and red set. So he gave me a bad name, but I asked the guy who ran it, and he was like, "Yeah, go ahead. Like hopefully the name won't screw you over because his group I didn't make it." Um, but uh, yeah, so it kind of grew, right? Like I think if you were to compare the views for like Sloth versus Forge, Forge has more just because it's been longer, but also because it like had a lot of updates. Um, so I don't necessarily agree with people who are like, you need to have it 100% polished before you post an interest check. Because, like, honestly, if unless you're doing a hype check where you've secured a vendor and you're just letting people know it's going to be running, I think people like me who have no connections with any vendor, who just kind of came out of nowhere. Like interest checks are interest checks. Like I'm trying to gauge interest, right? So I'm kind of in both camps where some people are like, "Hey, you need to make sure they're good." I agree. Like you don't want to throw a keycap render up there, um, but I also don't think that it needs to be fully flushed out. Not everyone is like uh, the Dracula guy. Not everyone does that for a living. If you tell me to do a tax return for you or a balance sheet for you, I can do that for you, right? But to do a key set or like to design like a graphics for my key set, that takes me a lot longer. Um, yeah.
Play to your
we'll do
strengths.
we'll do taxes
GMK
in
tax
return for
season wave.
renders.
I love it.
GMK 1040.
Oh man. Oh
Oh.
no.
Well, I think we can move. Yep. Sorry, I was reading and paused in the middle of a sentence, but that's how I do. All right. Anyway, I think we can move on into our final two questions. So if you want to start us off.
What is your favorite thing and your least favorite thing about the community this point in time?
I actually wrote it down.
Ooh.
So my favorite thing is the fact that I could run a group buy, right? Like the fact that I could create something and see it come to fruition is amazing, right? Like there's not that many hobbies, I think, unless you're gonna like do it yourself, like unless you're gonna build your own something or other. Um, I feel like keyboards are pretty unique in that sense. And we have people who are good at designing boards, or we have people who are good at rendering and people who are good at making PCBs. Like that's pretty cool. And the fact that I can collaborate with these people and like make a team, um, because like everyone has their strengths, everyone has their weaknesses. Like it's I think for those who run group buys just by themselves, like for instance, Heine did a really good job with the HBCP, but like there are just like all group buys, like there are issues that come up. And I'm sure like since it's just him, like it's very difficult to get everything perfect, the first time. Like with three people, me, Phoenix, and Gondo, like we were able to bounce ideas off of each other and like be like, no, this sucks. No, this is a great idea. Right. Like it helps. So that's something that I really like. Things that I don't like, basically like people who feel entitled, but they have no experience and they just like bash things, right? Like, okay, you don't like my set, you don't like my kits. Show me your set, show me your kits. Like what should I be trying to do? Right? Like what have you done? I'd like to see it. Because once you do something, like once I ran this group by, like I have more respect for people who run groups, right? Like once you have to lift boxes that weigh like 60 pounds, like it's like, okay, I can understand how someone who had like hundreds of sets of key sets that they've never, tried to organize before, like put it in their apartment or their house, like try to find room for it, um, try to figure out how to ship them all. I mean, those are things that most people don't, like 99% of people don't experience.
Mhm.
So I think for people to just sit on their computers and say like, oh, this guy should have done better, or like, I can't believe how bad this guy sucks. Like, give him a break.
Mhm. So,
I don't.
and
Well, I'm
Right.
gonna respond
Yeah,
to
go for it.
chat here. I don't think bashing is 100% necessary. I think when you're asking for input, you're asking for you're definitely asking for some criticism, but you're asking for constructive criticism, not like mad cause bad. Like you are asking for, hey, does this work? Yes, it works. Okay, I'm getting everyone saying yes, it works. Cool. All right. Or no, this doesn't work because of this. You're not asking for, does this work? No. Okay, well, why?
So
Just no.
the first time, not the first time, but maybe I remember posting the layout for the Austin um, on Teja Types Discord, and the first response from a vendor was cancer. I mean, I think, that at that point in time, that's kind of how he normally responds. But I think, there could have been something more constructive.
Yeah.
We're trying to do this together. We're trying to make things happen together. Why not just be somewhat constructive?
Yeah.
Golden rule, people. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
Yeah.
So, but last question: The Office or Parks and Rec?
The Office.
Ooh,
Yes.
man, it's been an Office heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2020, it's the year of the office, apparently.
Yeah.
People are
So
happy because thank you, William. People are really stoked on Office and they're watching this can.
yeah. I mean, so I picked The Office because I've watched both. I think even though people don't like it when Michael Scott leaves, I think it opens up the storylines for the rest of the cast. I think things like you wouldn't grow to love Dwight as much as you do without him leaving, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I enjoy character development in TV shows, and I feel like every character in The Office has something great about them, and like the way that they showed that in the show, like doesn't really happen in a lot of shows.
Mhm. Yeah. Good answer. It's like you were prepared for this.
It's
Yeah,
it's
it's like I
like you
watched
knew.
these or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, thank you very much for coming on the show, guys. Be sure to, if you want to put the link to the raffle, be sure to get on Austin. You definitely don't want to miss out on that. GMK Forge coming soon, or sorry, please consider GMK Forge. GMK Sloth coming. I imagine at some point this year. Um,
Yeah.
hopefully in the next 6 years, we'll find out. But thank you very very much. Drifting Bunnies is a moderator on our Discord at Twitch, so he will. If you ever have questions for him, you can join our Discord as well. Um, is that a Lansky? Thanks for the Reddit post, bud.
Yeah, dude. Big shout outs
That's
to
very
him.
nice.
Appreciate it. Those were very kind words.
Very nice words.
Very excited for you to get this serious. I got it all packed up next to me. I'll be shipping it out probably Friday when I get off work before the post office closes.
There you go. I also appreciate that you put myself and Drifting Bunnies as the two people in charge of Mechs on Deck. It was like, it's so perfect because he's gonna be on the show tonight. So, but thank you. Quick shout. Just gonna roll through our sponsors really quick. Zap Cables. If you want to pick up some of the best cables in the business, go to Zap Cables. He's also got great desk mats. Check those out. Switchmod.net/Mechs on Deck. 4% off your order. You can go get some lube, some springs. As the T60, I've only looked at the board like twice.
Yeah, it's a 260.
Mainly because I'm having to prevent myself from looking at the board too much because I might buy it and I don't want to. Not that it
$155.
exactly, and that's why you need to stop saying that because I'm worried about that. But yeah, mechsondeck.dixiemech.com, GMK Burgundy. And round 3, it's got a couple more days left, so be sure to grab that, as well as you can be a part of the Dixie Dozen. So if you can get selected, if you get in on the keycap set, you can get 20% off the rest of the sets for the year. And then Moto Light coming up next month, so be sure to check that out. Last up, Project Keyboards. Go get yourself a Tengu. Do you have that Tengu to show off?
I do.
We built this. I say Osiris built this
So
last night.
sexy.
It was fantastic.
Look at
It was
them
a very fun
curves,
stream to be a
dude.
part of. So be sure to check that out. Use our promo code, helps us a whole lot. So, and then the series as well, those are going to be coming back periodically, so, and we will try and keep you guys updated about the serious restock. And last but not least, I missed this on SwitchMod, but you could do switchmod.net/chewy or switchmod.net/osiris for $5 off of Metaverse Round 2. So be sure to get in on that.
Yeah, it's close to the goals to add some more keys to the set. So
Hell
definitely want to stay tuned to that to get some new to get some keys that'll change up the kitting. Definitely appreciate everyone stopping by, all the bits, all the subs, the follows. Really appreciate it. It's been a great week for us here at Mechs on Deck. We will be back next Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time, talking about some cool stuff. We'll see what happens. We might be talking about some spice. Who knows?
It'll be fun. We've got, you definitely don't want to miss Monday, 100%. And you definitely don't want to miss Tuesdays because of the Austin.
Yeah, should we be building the Austin on Tuesday?
So, and then next week, I don't remember who we have on, but we'll keep you updated on that. We are going to raid Mr. I Am Me, You Are You, great friend of the channel. So, but thank you guys very, very much.
Yeah. With that being said, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We'll have some additional videos about the Tengu this weekend, so be sure to stop on by to that and check it out.
All right. Good night. Buy a Switch tester.
Bye now.